Roughly 192,000 votes. That's all it would have taken to end a 307-year union overnight. Markets wobble. Faslane's future is on the table. Brussels picks up the phone. The Saltire climbs above Holyrood, and a brand new country takes its first breath. Welcome to the Scotland that said yes. What if Scotland had voted yes for independence? In September 2014, the people of Scotland were faced with a monumental decision. The referendum asked one simple question: should Scotland be an independent country? The result was close. 55% said no, but the impact of the vote was seismic regardless. But what if it had gone the other way? Let's imagine the consequences of a yes vote, both the triumphs and the turmoil, through the lens of historical context and modern possibility. Welcome to Parallel, a mix of storytelling and thought-provoking what-if scenarios, combining narrative fiction and analysis that includes real-world science, philosophy, and potential real-world implications. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment so that you do not miss out on the next episode. Because, one reality, Susti Boom, is never enough.
Today, we write a new chapter, not just for Scotland, but for history itself. Yesterday, the people of Scotland spoke. Not in anger, not in rebellion, but in hope. We voted yes. Yes to self-determination. Yes to a future forged by our own hands. Yes to a Scotland that charts its own course in the world. We do not cast aside our shared past with our neighbours. We cherish it. But now, we stand ready to shape a future that reflects our distinct voice, our distinct needs, and our distinct dreams. The road ahead will be long. There will be questions to answer, treaties to renegotiate, and foundations to build. But today, Scotland is reborn. Let this be the century of the small country with a big heart. Let this be the beginning of something truly ours. Alba go brath.
Wow!
A history carved in stone and struggle. Scotland's path to this vote was centuries in the making. From the 1707 Acts of Union, which united Scotland and England into Great Britain, to the formation of the Scottish Parliament in 1999, there's been a long and winding road toward autonomy. The independence movement, led by the Scottish National Party, SNP, gained momentum in the early 2000s, peaking with the 2014 referendum. Fueled by a desire for control over national resources, laws, and identity, independence was no longer a fringe dream, but a mainstream conversation. Now imagine that the referendum had tipped in favor of yes. What would have followed? There was also a darker side, especially how both of the campaigns worked the nerves of the nation. Before policies and borders, we must take a walk through the mud. 2014 wasn't just leaflets, it was pressure, uncertainty, and implication. Project Fear became the no camp's metronome. Your job, savings, mortgage, maybe even your pension at risk. The briefings were nuanced, the takeaway wasn't. Boardrooms piled on. Major firms flagged plans to shift registrations south if yes won. Technically, contingencies, practically a fire alarm, then currency and Europe. London ruled out a formal sterling union. Brussels warned EU entry could be extremely difficult. Whatever your view, uncertainty multiplied. On the eve, the vow arrived. More powers if Scotland stayed. Substance to some, a last-minute sweetener to others. Yes had its gloss too. confident oil and fiscal forecasts that critics called rosy. Stats turned into weapons. Online, the tone curdled. Abuse, trolling, and a sense that speaking up carried a cost. If this sounds familiar, it's because Brexit recycled the playbook. Fear lines and flashy claims drowning out spreadsheets. Could the result have flipped without scare stories and corporate warnings? Maybe. What's certain? People don't just vote with their heads. They vote with their nerves. Scotland voted yes. So, what about the transition period? In this alternate timeline, negotiations with Westminster would begin immediately. The pound sterling, likely abandoned in favour of keeping the current Scottish currency, or even joining the euro. Trident nuclear submarines stationed in Faslane, relocated, perhaps sparking diplomatic tension. European Union membership, reapplication would be needed, and the timing would be critical, especially considering Brexit was just 2 years away in 2016. The short-term economic upheaval would have been significant. Markets uncertain, capital moving, businesses wondering whether to stay or go. But there would also be pride, tangible and psychological, flowing through Scotland's cities and glens. The positive news, it's a bold future for Scotland. Scotland's wealth of renewable energy could become its economic backbone. The North Sea oil debate, contentious as it was, would fuel optimism and literal fuel. Social policy could be even more progressive, building on Scotland's historic commitment to public welfare and education. In the longer term, independence might foster a new national identity, one less tied to London and more aligned with Scandinavian models of governance and social care. Politically, Scotland could take bold stances globally. As a smaller, agile nation, it might find new alliances with Ireland, the Nordic countries, or even Canada. And being a full EU member once more could open economic and cultural pathways closed by Brexit. Of course, there will also be challenges. Independence isn't a panacea for Scotland. It brings with it harsh realities. Scotland's GDP would be tested. Would it rely too heavily on tourism and whiskey exports? Could it build an independent central bank capable of global confidence? Defence spending, pension liabilities, and the logistics of border control with England would all pose serious questions. There would also be a question surrounding its politicians' capability to run literally everything, independently. And what of identity? Would Scotland risk losing the benefits of being part of a broader British culture, its soft power, its global reach, its shared achievements, not to mention the psychological impact on the Union itself? A yes vote might inspire similar movements in Wales or Northern Ireland. Could the United Kingdom eventually dissolve entirely? For Scotland, there would need to be a huge psychological shift. Perhaps the greatest change would be internal, within the Scottish psyche. Independence brings pride, yes, but also pressure. The burden of proof rests on your own shoulders now. Every success or failure is yours alone. There might be disillusionment, a realization that some things haven't changed as much as hoped, that old systems persist, even under a new banner. Was the dream sold greater than what reality could deliver? Brexit springs to mind, and yet, the empowerment of choice, of standing on your own feet, can also be the seed of something extraordinary. What if Scotland had voted yes? A brave new world, a heavy burden, a bold chance. In this alternate reality, Scotland could be a beacon of self-determination, or it might be a cautionary tale of overreaching dreams. But maybe, just maybe, it's not the outcome that matters most. Maybe it's that, for a brief moment in history, a nation stood on the edge of possibility and dared to ask the question. And for those listening today, wherever you are in the world, ask yourself, what would you choose if the power to decide your nation's future was placed in your hands? Thank you so much for listening in to this episode of Parallel. If you have an idea for a future episode, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow its audience. Until the next episode, remember, one reality is never enough.